Hello everybody, this is the Linkzilla coming at you with one of my very first Minecraft play videos intended for release on YouTube. Those of you who don't know me, or are new to my channel, I am the Linkzilla. I am wearing tactical armor right now, so it's not really the best time to actually look at my persona, but I'm mostly on DeviantArt. I do custom-made sprites, I make sprite comics, and I'm overall a genuinely nice guy. So, I thank you for joining me on this little adventure that I have to go on. I just want to show you guys all the things that I have built, everything that I've worked so hard on. Basically speaking, I'm on an island off the coast of Costa Rica. I've leased it from the government, and I've spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve. Really spectacular, spared no expense. Make the one I've got done in Kenya look like a petting zoo. And there's no doubt our attractions will drive kids out of their minds. For those of you who will probably recognize some of the foliage on this island, but for those of you who don't, this is a custom-made map of Isla Nublar, made by Everything JP from World of Minecraft, or yeah, MC World. I cannot remember what the website is called. He has a YouTube channel. He's a channel here on YouTube. He actually has only 3 videos dedicated to talking about how he made this thing, and it completely changed my life and how I'm going to play Minecraft from now on, because it made me realize that I have a lot more control over custom mapping than I thought that I did, and it's going to be so much fun. I've begun using Minecraft World Painter, which is what he used to make this thing, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. Oh, maliciously. Basically speaking, I'm going to take a moment to stroll through some parts of this island to show you what I've built. And ultimately speaking, I love this island. It is so detailed, it is so well masterfully crafted, but there's ultimately a problem with it, and I think it's just because the island is just too big. And here's one of the problems why it's too big. Basically speaking, this road that I'm on takes way too long to traverse on foot, and it even takes too long to traverse while driving in a Jeep. You probably saw that Jeep back there at the lake. That was a Jeep from Flan's mod, and it's pretty okay to drive once you get the control of it. And the thing about it is, from that lake to where I'm taking you now, I can't imagine it being more than half a mile in real life, but this, you could literally take like a Minecraft day to traverse all this. Alright, here's the 2 cows, so I know that I'm close enough to actually start doing the monologue. Okay. During most of your tour, the appropriate information will be automatically selected and displayed for you. Simply touch the area of the screen displaying the appropriate icon. Welcome to Jurassic Park. What have they got in there, King Kong? Yep, those of you probably figured it out before now, but as you can tell, this is Isla Nublar, and I am using it to make my very own Jurassic Park. Yep, took me a while to build this gate right here. It's based on several designs that I've seen on YouTube, kind of mixing and matching the design, and the material is a material from the Fossil Archaeology mod, and it's actually volcanic brick, and I like the fact that it's just so dark and so black, and it really gives me that kind of authentic Jurassic Park feel. I don't know what I'm going to do about the sign. I'm thinking that maybe I might edit some of the paintings that I have in my texture pack to where one of them will just say Jurassic Park and whatnot, but then I don't know what to do for the other painting, so as you can see, I've been adding the fences, and the best part about it is that these fences right here, the metal ones, they are from Security Craft, and they are electrified iron fences. They are reinforced and completely indestructible, which means that when they are placed in the world, the only person who can break them is without getting hurt is me. But there are other tools in Security Craft that would allow somebody else to break them if they're feeling malicious, but basically speaking, the best part about it is they are electrified iron fences, so any mob or animal or other players that walk up to this fence, they're going to take damage from it. Now, it doesn't really work like you'd think electricity would. Something doesn't touch this fence, get zapped, and then get flung like 5 or 20 blocks back, which is how I kind of prefer it to be. Instead, someone who touches this block is actually just going to continually take perpetual damage, kind of like they're suffocating, and they don't seem to have any indication to move away from the fence in order to save themselves. So yeah, basically if something touches this fence, they're most likely going to stay there until they die. Which is disappointing, because I don't want my dinosaurs that I'm going to breed for this island to die. But I have tested out the fences with some animals before I started building all this, and I found that the animals sort of naturally try to stay away from the fences. In fact, there were actually times where I had to pretty much push animals into the fences in order to see if it would actually kill them. But something that is pretty cool is that if a creeper touches this fence, they will become a charged creeper. So that's an easy way to get charged creepers. That's an easy way to basically start harvesting heads for trophies and whatnot. And basically that's kind of a cool idea. Now, as you can probably tell, I started putting in the fences using MC Edit, and there were a lot of complications with that, and I'll get to why that is in a minute. And here's probably the biggest evidence that I had to use MC Edit, because on the diagonal there are these huge holes in the fences, and I'm ultimately partial to them. I don't think that I might cover them up because I don't think I need to. Some of the animals that I have are so big to where they will basically stay in the fences anyway, and hopefully they'll avoid the fences. Because, like, if you see the fence like this, you can still see through it, you get an idea of what's inside, but nobody's supposed to be up against the fence that close. I think the tour road is at most going to be at this distance, so I think that maybe obscures their vision a little bit too much there. You can still get a general idea of what's going on, but I think the fence is distracting. But here, you can see through the fence better. The only problem that I have with it is that man-sized mobs like Steve, or basically zombies, skeletons, and creepers, they can basically do this. Literally walk right through the gaps in the fences. Yeah, it's kind of funny like that. But anyways, I'll worry about fixing that later. Up here, this little red thing is an alarm. Ultimately speaking, the alarms don't go off without redstone powering them, so I ultimately just threw them in there for aesthetic design, and as well as the lanterns, but at least the lanterns provide some light. And oh, here you can see some of the problems that I've had with this map. You can see that the forest has been a bit deforested. All the foliage is kind of being destroyed. And I'll get to you why that is in my explanation here, because as you can probably tell, using MC Edit to put this in was a long and tedious process, and in every single part of the jungle on this map, the foliage and the trees are just so thick and so dense that they touch and overlap each other so much that the canopy just got distracting. It got in the way. I couldn't see what I was doing. The cursor basically kept touching the trees instead of what I wanted to highlight. And so that got so cumbersome that I decided that, okay, I need to start getting rid of the trees, at least the ones around the fences. So I installed the lumberjack mod, and I cut down a tree, but I quickly found out that that wasn't going to fix the problem. And it's a useful mod that allows you to basically cut down a tree just by taking out one block, and you can change the algorithm to where it takes out the leaves as well. But because of that design, there's an obvious design flaw, that the leaves work on a different algorithm than the wood blocks do, and so once they start taking out the leaf blocks, they will continue to take out leaf blocks that the subsequent leaf blocks are attached to. Like, if I were to basically strike this leaf block right here, it would take out all of these leaf blocks, but it would also take out these leaf blocks as well. Basically, a leaf block is a leaf block to this mod. It will take them all down, and that's the problem that I had with these trees out here. I tried to take down just one single tree, but because the leaves were so connected to each other, they just traveled along the network from tree to tree, completely making the trees barren. And now the forest looks like it's been destroyed. It looks ugly, and I hate myself for doing it. I'm going to have to fix the foliage eventually. But I still needed to get around the trees, and I figured, okay, since I've done so much damage already, I might as well just do a whole lot more damage and try and fix it later. So I ended up trying to use MC Edit to remove a large portion of the jungle from this world. Basically, from the starting point of where I was started building the fences, I began highlighting the area of this one single enclosure that I'm building. And yeah, I'm only building one enclosure at the time because I realized that this took me so long that, basically speaking, I would be at this for years if I were to do the entire island, especially if I was doing it movie accurate. So that's why I'm going to need a whole lot of support in order to do this. Basically speaking, I took MC Edit and I highlighted the area of this enclosure at about a 1,380 block wide, 1,705 block long area of this one single enclosure, and I highlighted that. I copied it and saved it as a schematic, so that way whatever jungle foliage that I have isn't going, that I end up destroying or removing, I can easily replace myself. But, basically speaking, that didn't work out for several reasons. Because I was dealing with such a large space, I couldn't get rid of the trees fast enough. Basically speaking, every single operation of removing the blocks took an hour to do, and I didn't properly calculate for the height of the area. It really wasn't all that good. So basically speaking, that explains why some of the trees still have leaves on them at some parts, but other trees don't. And that explains why some of the trees don't go all the way up to their natural height. It is just really, really frustrating. It was really frustrating, and it took me 3 hours to save the thing, and I was doing that late at night, and I had work the next day. I had to leave my laptop on all night and all day at work in order to actually save this thing. So it became so long and so tedious that I had to go with Plan C, and you can see the results of Plan C up ahead. Right here we have basically a completely square cubed clearing, and this is where the foliage has been removed, because when I realized that doing the entire square area wasn't going to work, I decided to just basically do the smaller portions of where I knew the fences were supposed to be. I highlighted these areas, replaced all the trees with air, and that's what I'm doing now. So ultimately speaking, I failed completely. So the only solution that I have for this is to just download the map again, or have it on one of my other save files, save the 1,380 by 1,705 block area, collect all the foliage that I can this time, making sure it's the proper height, both up and down, copy it over, and just paste it into this world so I can get this beautiful foliage back, because it took everything Jurassic Park such a long time to build this beautiful island, and I don't want to see it destroyed. And basically speaking, I'm pretty much counting on all the foliage I can. I mean, I know it's important to have wide open spaces to where you can see the animals, but ultimately speaking, I don't think that the animals are going to keep to the fences anyway, which is making this whole thing superfluous anyway. I legitimately think that this island is so big that I have more than enough space to where I won't need all this. I won't need the entire island to put the animals into. They will have more than enough space to spread out and do anything, but I'm mostly counting on having all this dense jungle foliage because the herbivores are going to eat it. Basically speaking, herbivores will literally eat any plant matter that they can get their hands on. Like, the first time I ever played this game, I wanted the pens that I kept my herbivores in to look natural, so I made them out of trees. Yeah, I was lazy. I basically just put down a whole bunch of saplings, used a whole lot of bone meal, and just grew up walls made of trees. But eventually, one of my dinosaurs got so hungry that he ate his way out of the pen. Yeah, I'm a pretty stupid guy. Yeah, I can't wait to fix all this. There's a service road down there. So I'm basically going into this pen because I want to show you the point. I want to make a point about the pen that there's just so much space on this island that I have basically more than enough. Here's a mountain wall, the mountain wall. I've got a donkey out here somewhere that I've lost. I mean, I've got so many man-made structures and chests and all this whole bunch of stuff out there that is now completely lost. I'm never going to find it again because basically this island is so huge and the jungle is so thick that I'll never be able to find it again. I don't even want to try. It's just so daunting. I can only assume that the donkey is just going to eventually get eaten by the carnivores. Poor thing. This should be the clearing of the pen, and ultimately speaking, this is where my point is initially going to be made. Whee! Here we have the huge, enormous clearing where the Gallimimus stampede took place. And the thing about it is, even though these animals are big, they're not that big compared to how big this island is. And the thing about it is that this whole area right here, I think, is ultimately enough for the dinosaurs. Like, if you put your settlement down here and start building a little miniature Jurassic Park here, you just put just several different enclosures and put a few animals in them, make sure they're all well fed. This is basically everything that you need. So basically having an island this big is really seriously overcompensating and is only valuable because of, like, if you're actually a die-hard Jurassic Park fan and are just a little bit crazy enough to actually try and replicate the movie as much as possible, which I am. So I'm going to show you how far the fence is going to be in this enclosure. I should be coming up against the back end of this enclosure now. Should be just around this mountain. I should see the blue line where the fences are supposed to go. Yeah, these are some of the trees that got the deforestation or the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot, and nature selected them for extinction. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit lost. Or maybe, just maybe, yep, there it is. As you can see, this was whole jungle area. This whole area was forested in, but this is where I had to remove the foliage so I can get a clear shot at the fences. And maybe if I had taken this a little bit more piece by piece, I could have, like, saved on the damage, but I tried doing that with the other fences that are near the gates, and it just didn't work out. Anyway, this is the back of the first enclosure. This is the last wall of fence that I have to do. But ultimately speaking, I wanted to take time off of doing that in order to record this video for you. Basically speaking, this is what the fence is going to, this is where the fence is going to be. I've got the single portion of the fences up in order to save me a whole bunch of unnecessary time on MC Edit. And here's the interesting part. This is where the fences, according to the movie, actually end, and this is where the fences start going that way in order to complete the enclosure. But the thing about it is, the last barrier of the other fence we were following is actually that way. So I had a pretty natural point to, like, close in, make a single enclosure for my animals, strictly temporarily, of course. I am going to do this all the way, nothing half-assed. I just want to finally get to some dinosaur action very soon. I was getting so damn bored building fences, and this is where that line of fence that we were following ends. So basically speaking, I decided to just seal off this area with wooden fences. The dinosaurs won't be able to break it. I've made sure that they can't destroy blocks, even though, like, in the original mod, they're pretty big and powerful animals that can basically destroy blocks and whatnot, but I've cut them off from doing that. So, basically speaking, this is pretty much what I'm going to be doing in order to get, like, this animal enclosure up. But right now, I think we've seen about 19 minutes of what the park is going to be like. So, you guys have seen the gate and whatnot. You've seen what the fences are like. Now I'm going to take you guys over to see the other things. I'm going to walk you through how this mod actually works. I'm going to teleport myself. Let's see, TP. And we are back at Visitor Center Lake. Yep, this is the road that comes here, and this is basically going to be the central hub of the Jurassic Park island. But ultimately speaking, it's not the spawn point, and I find that very irritating. Remember how I said that this island is a bit too big? Well, the spawn point is actually at the lagoon and the waterfall where the helicopters land in the movie. That's where you're supposed to spawn, and I guess to give it a natural feel. But the thing about it is, this island is so big that it's going to take you such a long time to get from there to here. I started playing this map for the first time with a friend, and we followed the road as best that we could to get here, and it took us so long. It literally took us days to get here. Not just Minecraft days, but actual physical days. Basically speaking, if you don't follow the roads on this island, and if you don't know where you're going to get lost. I mean, that's why I've lost so much stuff out there. I didn't take down coordinates, I didn't do anything, I didn't apply myself. I wasn't prepared, Morty. I didn't prepare myself for this, Morty. So, ultimately speaking, but once you know the coordinates, I say just skip out on it. Like, if you know the coordinates of where you're going, just cut through the jungle. Forget about the roads, because they take a winding and just a nonsensical path all throughout the island, and you'll get here in a fraction of the time by just cutting through the jungle. But be careful, like, make sure that you're either on creative mode or that you have a gun with a lot of ammo, because basically speaking, there are going to be so many hostile mobs spawning out in this jungle, because the canopy is so compact that it ends up making dark enough spaces for mobs to spawn. But anyways, now to talk about Visitor Center Lake. As you can see over here, I've got quite a few sturgeon spawning here, and this is ultimately one of the more interesting stories about the Visitor Center Lake that I have to tell. I just have to tell you this story, because when I first got here for the first time, this entire lake was completely filled with sturgeon and nautilus. Their spawning rate was ridiculous, and it lagged my game to shit. It was so painful, because it's like sturgeon are valuable because they give you a lot of food. You can catch them, you can cook them and eat them, or you can kill them and they can drop fish, and they're useful for feeding some of your marine reptiles that you're going to be breeding here in Jurassic Park. But ultimately speaking, I just couldn't do with them lagging the game, so I went to MC Edit, I removed all the water, and that basically killed all the sturgeon and nautilus that were here. As you can see, these guys are flopping around trying to stay in the water, but they're eventually going to suffocate. As you can see, this one over here did, and this one over here is doing. Do I care? Not really. But basically speaking, this is basically just a top surface layer of the lake, because I wanted the lake aesthetic to remain, and here is a layer of blue glass. But as you can see, there are holes in the glass, and that's ultimately because when you have guns in this mod, the guns can break the glass, and most of my NPCs, they have guns, and they shoot hostile mobs if they come too close. That ends up breaking the glass, so I basically just decided, you know what, screw it. Eventually I'm going to remove the glass here. I'm going to let the water flow, and that's going to spawn more sturgeon and nautilus and whatnot, but I think that with the rate at which the water is flowing downward, they'll also be eventually pulled down, and they won't spawn as much as they have or as they can, and basically it'll keep the population under control. I was thinking about building something underneath Visitor Center Lake, but I have no idea what to build down there, and I don't want to use this as a mosasaur pen, because I feel like it's a little bit too close to the Visitor Center. Friggin' love that music. Anyways, here is the Jurassic Park Visitor Center, and this is a Jeep. Yeah, this is a Flans mod Jeep. Basically, this is the best vehicle that I have in the Flans mod, the one that I'm basically using to do all of this, and ultimately speaking, I would prefer to have the Jurassic Park Jeep, but I don't like any of the mods that actually have the Jurassic Park Jeep, because I would prefer something that was exactly this size and controlled exactly like this. It's a bit finicky, but it's easy to get the hang of, and I feel like it's the perfect size for what a Jeep needs to be. So this is just a temporary stand-in. But as you can see, this is my Jurassic Park Visitor Center. If you're saying that it looks familiar, well, you're probably right. This is actually not just one single design, but actually an amalgamation of several designs that I've found across the internet. I just basically took what I thought worked and just added my own little personal spin on it. So let's get a closer look, shall we? Ah, there's somebody there waiting for us. This is Robert Muldoon, my game warden from Kenya. Bit of an alarmist, I'm afraid, but knows more about raptors than anybody. He's just patrolling the visitor center with his SPAS 12 shotgun, just like he does in the movies, thinking about how all the raptors need to be destroyed. Anyway, moving in. G'day, g'day, g'day. Now, the most advanced amusement park in the entire world, incorporating all the latest technologies. And I'm not just talking about rides, you know. Everybody has rides, but we have made living biological attractions so astounding that they have captured the imagination of the entire planet. So what are you thinking? We're out of a job. Don't you mean extinct? I just love the fact that I was able to build all of this. It's so good. It really makes that whole feeling Jurassic Park is yours. It just makes it feel so much real. I love the fact that I've got my T-Rex and my Brachiosaur skeleton. Oh, as you can see, there's a glitch with the fossil archaeology mod that if you look at them a certain way, they disappear. So you just have to keep them at the right angle. You have to keep them. But basically speaking, I like the fact that I've got them positioned the way they're supposed to be. I would prefer it if it was an Apatosaurus, because that's supposed to be an Apatosaur right there, but there's no Apatosaurus in this mod, but I'm not going to begrudge that. I just like the fact that I was able to get them into this position, because anybody who's played this mod knows that this shit ain't easy. It ain't easy to do, and it's just not all that fun. And I'll get to you in the specifics why later on in later videos. And as you can see, they are actually standing on the fossils from the fossil archaeology mod. Yep. These are basically the ores that allow you to get the fossils from, but there's ultimately a problem that I have with getting fossils in this mod, because as you know, everything Jurassic Park did not build this mod specifically with fossils and archaeology in mind, so he just built this island on a vanilla Minecraft world, and basically all I did was take that save file and start building stuff onto it. So it's not a legit fossil world. I can't find any fossils here, so I'm gonna have to compensate from that for some other ways, because I just don't want to give myself fossils. I mean, I know I'm gonna have to do that eventually, because there's one item in the game that I cannot get through any other means aside from fossils, but there are other ways that I can compensate, and I'm going to show you why in just a moment. Here we have Navi, the fairy. Yep, I'm the Linkzilla. I am a fan of both Godzilla and the Legend of Zelda franchise, and I just like Navi. I don't get like so many people on the internet hate Ocarina of Time. They hate her because they think she's annoying. I honestly find that she's very tolerable. I mean, I feel like people just need to lighten up on those things. But anyway, the tour moves on. Here we have the basic area where I set myself up when I first started building this place. I literally built this place around this area. I got a whole bunch of stuff over here, but that's not what you came to see. I'm going to show you how I'm going to get my hands on fossils without having any fossil blocks. Here we have this machine, and I'm going to say it right now. This machine basically helps make mining and farming completely obsolete on this mod, because you've got better things to do with your time, and the developers of this mod know that. So here we have this machine. We have two large chests sit beside each other. They are filled with sand and dirt. Oh my god, like, this is like the third time that I've recorded this, and it's like there was a lot more sand and dirt in there when I recorded this the last time. It is incredible how much time has passed. Basically, keep in mind that in this chest there's supposed to be 8 of something. Let's see if there's still 8 of something in there at the time this is over. So, these hoppers take the sand and the dirt into these devices, and they're called sifters. Now, for those of you who don't know, but could probably make the assumption anyway, a sifter is something that a paleontologist and an archaeologist would use, and more likely a gold prospector would use. Basically, what sifters do is that they basically are these little devices with grates on the bottom of them, and you put a huge sample of dirt on top of your sifter, and you shake the sifter back and forth so that the particles of dirt and sand will fall through the grate, and anything that might be potentially valuable hidden inside the dirt will remain. Things like precious gemstones, or pieces of gold, or fossils, or whatnot. And basically speaking, there was actually a time where I had a cat box that had the exact same design, and well, let's just say it didn't leave the valuable parts of the cat litter behind, if you catch my drift. But anyways, I'm going to show you all the goodies that the sifter can potentially drop for you. And basically speaking, it drops carrots and potatoes, so you don't have to go looking for a village to find them. You don't have to kill zombies for them. You don't even have to farm them anymore. You could just get a perpetual supply of fresh vegetables right from the dirt. And you're going to have a lot of dirt, like, if you're going to be digging around as much as I do, you're going to have a lot of dirt that just takes up space in your chest, but you don't want to get rid of it just in case there might be a chance that you could use it later on. Now you have a use for it. Here you have ancient fern spores. These are an ancient prehistoric plant matter that you can use to feed your dinosaurs to. You could feed it to them by hand. You could put it in a feeder, which is a device I'll talk about later on. Or you could actually plant it. And if you plant it, you could potentially have a perpetual food source for your dinosaurs. But keep in mind, it's very risky to actually do that, and the risk is increased on this island to the point where I'm not even going to try to do it. It would be literally insane, and here's why. The ancient fern spores can only spawn, thrive, and multiply under the shade of trees. They can only be planted and spread underneath leaf blocks. Now, that's alright if you're going to do it under one single tree that's isolated from every single other tree in the area. Do not do this in a forest. Basically speaking, they spread, and they will spread quickly to every single other tree, and the only way to actually stop them is to cut down every single tree in the forest in order to keep them from spreading. And yeah, the lumberjack mod is going to make it easy, but ultimately speaking, it's still very dangerous, and if they spread too far, it is going to lag your game to shit. Like, basically speaking, they spread so powerfully that I planted one on one side of a shore where a tree was, but on the other side of the embankment where there were more trees, yeah, they managed to spread that far. Figure that one out. And I recommend that you do not ever plant one of these things in a jungle, because you might as well just say goodbye to your game then. You will never be able to stop that. You will never be able to play on that file ever again. It'll be too late, and as you can tell from the jungle that we just came from, the leaves are like so compact, the canopy just overhangs so much that if one of these were to actually spread out there in the jungle, my game would just be lagged and ruined forever. I'd never be able to play on this again, so that's why I'm going to exercise extreme caution. As you can see, it also produces sand, which is good because the sifter also takes sand, so it's like, hey, it's almost like it's perpetuating itself. You can take the sand that you get from the sifter, you can put it back in the sifter and see if it yields anything good this time. Or you can basically use this to make glass, which is great because that means you don't have to go out into a desert looking for glass, especially since there are no deserts on this map. I mean, there are technically other biomes beyond the map, but the island in and of itself is so big that it's pointless to go anywhere else. So ultimately speaking, having something that just makes a source of sand for you, it's going to be good because you're going to need a lot of glass. You also have your bone meal, and that's what I love about this mod because you are basically up to your shit in bone meal. You've got bone meal for days. It's such a valuable resource, and you're going to have so much bone meal in this mod that I could not get rid of it fast enough. I began using bone meal on the stupidest things. I mean, I just went out and just started growing random grass everywhere just to get rid of how much bone meal that I had. You also have these pottery shards. Now, the pottery shards aren't as useful as I would hope they would be. I would hope that they would be a pretty useful resource for the archaeology aspect of this, but Like, pretty much, if you could take pottery shards, you could use them to repair damaged ancient items, kind of like what you use relic scraps for. That way you wouldn't have to waste relic scraps, and you could just stick to analyzing them. But basically speaking, what the pottery shards are for is that you can take them, you can put them in a crafting table, you can use them to craft ancient pottery and whatnot, which kind of defeats the purpose. It's not really ancient pottery if you yourself make it, but you can actually, it's pretty much broken, it's pretty much damaged when you craft it, so that's why you have to use the archaeology workbench to restore it. You can add color to it, make some nice decorations and whatnot. Unfortunately, there's a glitch with this mod to where you can't make your own archaeology workbench. The crafting recipe doesn't work, and I have tried everything. The only way you can get it is just to give it to yourself. So that's something that I really hope they end up fixing at a later date. Hope that the new update is coming soon. Here we have the plant fossils, and these are good because this is how you're going to get your prehistoric shrubbery. You want your Jurassic part to be as Jurassic as possible. You're going to have a lot of interesting things from here. And here we have the biofossils. Now, the biofossils are what you extract the dinosaur DNA from, but they also have another use. This is also how you display the dinosaur, the full dinosaur skeletons like you have out there in the rotunda, and I actually prefer that function for them better, because sometimes extracting the DNA from them isn't as precise, and you'll end up wasting them and getting like a lot of junk from them, so I would rather keep them to use as decorations than waste them on junk, if you know what I mean. And you also have to use biofossils and sometimes plant fossils in order to craft certain items in the game, like the analyzer. I'll talk to you about the analyzer later on in the game, but there's also another item that's very useful. It's called the Dinopedia. Basically what it is you take your biofossil, you take your blank book, and boom, you put them together and you create the Dinopedia. Basically, it's a book that pretty much tells you everything that you need to know about your dinosaurs, basically what they are, how old they are, if they're tame to you and whatnot, and more importantly, what they eat and what their mood is. You're going to have to keep an eye on what their mood is, because if they're not happy with you, you're going to be their lunch. And basically speaking, here's the most important part of the sifter. This is what you need to have a sifter for. This is the Dominican amber. This is the amber that is basically used. This is basically the amber that is mined from the Dominican Republic, and it is just a beautiful variant of amber, and here's why. Basically speaking, the amber from the Dominican Republic has this strange natural defect to where it absorbs all the minerals and chemicals from its surrounding environment during fossilization, and it ends up having this beautiful blue discoloration that you see here, which is why the amber has this blue animation, and this is the only way you can get amber in this game. For some reason, there's another variant of amber that the creators of the mod haven't implemented into the game just yet because they don't know what purpose the amber would serve. Yeah, it's not like finding amber is just like finding a fossil that you could extract DNA of dinosaurs from, and that they could potentially serve decorative purposes, but I digress. That's neither here or there at this point. But basically speaking, your Dominican amber is the most valuable, it's one of the more valuable items in this mod. That basically, basically speaking, the Dominican amber is valuable because you have to combine it with a scarab gem. Now I'm going to go on a scarab gem into much more detail at a later date, but basically speaking, they're the most valuable gemstones in the mod game, and you're going to want to get your hands on as many as possible, because they're going to get you some really good shit later on down the line. Basically speaking, you take your Dominican amber, you combine it with a scarab fossil, and a scarab gem, and then you've got an aqua scarab gem. And I'm going to explain to you what those gems are used for at a later date, later in the series. Right now, I just want to show you what the sifters have done. So, I've got 4 of these chests with 4 sifters running into them. I've got 1 piece of Dominican amber there. Let's see what I got here. I've got 4 pieces of Dominican amber, and oh no, looks like I've made so much sand that it's basically beginning to spill over. I'm going to have to move the Dominican Amber down into another slot in order to make things go where I need them to go. But that's just sand. Sand is neither here or there at this point. So that's 5, and I've got, whoa, 9. Remember how I said that there was only 8 in this chest before? There was 8 of something in this chest? I was talking about the Dominican Amber, so now there's 9 in there. And you want to know something crazy? Last night, there were 4 pieces of Dominican Amber in this chest, and now there's up to 9. This is the chest that is paying off. It's paying off wild, son. Anyway, this one has 3 pieces. There was only 1 piece the last time I tried to record this, and that was a failure, so let's see. That is 3, 12, 16, and 17. The last time I tried to record this, there was only 14 pieces of Dominican Amber. I am just up to it in Amber at this point, guys. And of course, the tour moves on. Now I'm going to show you the heart and soul of Jurassic Park, but first, this is Juanito Rostagno. He is the mine foreman. Basically, he's the guy at the beginning of the Jurassic Park movie that talks to Gennaro, the lawyer. Apuesto 1,000 pesos que se cae. Basically, he is the guy down in the Dominican Republic overseeing the Manos de Dios amber mine. He's actually the guy who's mining the Dominican amber. Except in the movie, there's a bit of a scientific flaw, but I don't judge Jurassic Park for having scientific inaccuracies. It's a fun movie, and I love it, and I just want to enjoy it, so I'm just not going to go into that right now. Plus, you're going to find out all the other scientific inaccuracies that Jurassic Park has that I'm going to go into great detail, and this will be the 3rd time I've tried to record this, and I am going to be very, very hoarse in the morning. Here we are, the genetics lab. Temporarily, I don't want it to stay here. I'm going to end up moving all this equipment elsewhere once the visitor center is finished, and I just fell. Going back up. Anyway, Juanito is just checking things out, making sure everything is secure. So over here, we have some more important blocks from the mod. These are analyzers. You build your analyzers by taking 4 pieces of iron and pretty much sandwiching a biofossil and a plant fossil in between them, and that's how you make your analyzer. Now, your analyzer is important because you put fossils and other genetic material into the analyzer. It analyzes it, and it yields some good stuff. And I'll just go through the course of explaining what it produces in increasing order. But ultimately speaking, you don't really have to worry all that much about crafting these analyzers because the analyzers actually spawn naturally in the mod. They're not going to spawn anywhere on this island because, like I said, this island was made before the mod was implemented. But basically speaking, in like a natural vanilla Minecraft world where it's generated with the mod in mind, there are these tents, and in these tents that you find scattered all over the place, there's a paleontologist or an archaeologist living there, and basically kind of working, kind of like digging at their crash site, and they have their own analyzer, so I just basically take it from them. I mean, I don't want to waste the iron on something so easy to build, and that's ultimately why I don't want to waste the iron on it. Anyway, I got 4 of these. Basically, this one I have for the relic scraps. Those are the archaeological finds that you get from fossils, and they can yield a chance of yielding gravel or flint. But gravel you can just take and put in the sifter and get some goodies from that too. You can also get broken ancient swords. You can get broken ancient helmets too, which I basically haven't gotten any yet, but you can take my word for it. You can get these stone tablets, which basically have these picture images of some prophecies of what the ancient world was actually like, and I'll put them up on display at a later date so you guys can check those out. You can also get broken figurines. Now, the figurines are going to be important at a very, very, very later installment of this video series, and I'm most likely going to take care of that on a different server because, honestly, I think that it's much better deserved at that other server. So, Anyways, let's moving on. This one I have reserved for tar fossils. Now, what tar fossils are basically fossils that you can only get from analyzing drops of tar. Now, basically, let me see if I can find them. Tar drops are basically pretty much just samples from from tar, and tar spawns naturally in a world that was generated with the mod in mind, and tar spawns in swamps, and you can either take a bucket of your tar, or you can take a bucket of your tar and that produces tar drops. You can analyze them and that yields tar fossils, or you can do something that's even better and even easier in my mind. You can actually just go hunt for some tar. you can hunt for some you can hunt for some tar drops by killing a very specific mod. Now, this is gonna take me a while to actually get through, so let me see. Fossil, Q. I need to go down to T. Aha! You can find this, the tar slime. Now, basically, the tar slime is just a variant of the regular slime, and what it is basically a very dangerous version of the slime that breeds in tar pits, and it's actually pretty damn fast, and it can actually jump on top of your head, and basically you'll end up wearing it like a hat or a helmet, and basically speaking, what happens is, like, it will poison you, it will slowly take away your life force, and it will even strike you with blindness, and it will actually slow you down, and the slowing down actually might remain permanent until you exit the game and re-enter it again. But anyways, these guys are actually pretty useful because if you get enough of them together and kill them, you'll just have plenty of tar drops, and the tar drops are pretty damn useful. And the best part about it is, this is the version of Minecraft that existed before slimes could swim, so all you had to do was lead a slime to the edge of water, submerge yourself in it, and lead the slime in after you, and just watch the slime drown. And I just love watching these bastards drown. Just basically let nature do my work for me. But basically speaking, the reason that you're going to want to get as many tar drops as you can is because when you put them into the analyzer, they have a chance of yielding DNA, they have a chance of yielding tar fossils, and the tar fossils basically yield DNA of the ancient mammals from the Ice Age, and this is basically that's how you get their DNA, but you can also use the tar fossils the same way you use the bio fossils. Like, here's one right now. You can basically right-click it on the ground like this, and you get the skeleton of an ancient Ice Age animal. Not necessarily a dinosaur, but it is a bird, so it is a dinosaur. Excuse me. You can get a Titanus, and let me see if I can get a more impressive specimen. And another Titanus. This is... here is an Elasmotherium. I'm pretty sure it's a bear. I actually thought the Elasmotheriums were pigs, but that's neither here nor there, is it? And we got your woolly mammoth. Yep, this is basically what you're going to be using them for. You know what? I might as well just throw this in there to, like, show you guys what they have the ability to yield. So this will only take a few seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. They have the chance of yielding volcanic rock. Now, I talked to you about the DNA that they could yield, but now I'm going to talk to you about the other valuable things. Remember how I said this mod basically makes mining for materials other than, like, iron and gold and diamonds pretty much useless? Well, basically, if you have enough tar fossils and you basically are tired of getting DNA, tar fossils and tar drops have the option of dropping coal. Yeah, they can end up producing coal, so you have so many of these tar drops just being analyzed over and over and over again, you could potentially have a limitless supply of coal. And I didn't get any coal here, but trust me, you get enough of that in quantity, it's going to happen. But speaking of coal, this is the analyzer that I use for analyzing plant fossils, and one of the junk products that they can produce is sand. once again, gotta have plenty of sand because you're gonna need a lot of glass. It can also produce coal, so like you get coal from several different sources. That's good. You can also get cactus green, and I'm surprised that cactus green is going to be one of those resources that you're going to need to have a lot of. So it's great that the mod basically provides you with it as junk, but don't throw it away. You're going to need it. So you don't need to go out and find a desert and breed your own cactuses because let's face it, you're not going to find you're not going to find a desert in this map. But analyzing plant fossils also gets you fossilized plant spores, and basically this is basically your plant DNA that you use in the analyzer to restore prehistoric plants so that you can grow them, get that natural Jurassic environment feeling, but that's not what you all came here to see, is it? You guys want to get to the good stuff, and that's what I have here. This is the analyzer for analyzing the biofossils. This right here is a reinforced security chest with a key lock combination, all part of security craft. The only person who can open this up is me, and only I know the super secret code known only to me by my brain. So, I'm going to put in the secret code. Let me see if I can remember this thing here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Yep, nobody is ever going to suspect that. And here we have, bingo, Dino DNA. As you can see, I have this all organized and set up the way I want it to. I've got these reinforced red glass panes in order to prevent anything from dropping from the analyzer into some place that I don't want it to be, so anything that's going to drop has to go in its designated place, and it's going to fill up to a 64 stack, and I'm just going to never need DNA ever again. But once you get to a point where you have enough animals, if you let your animals breed, you won't ever really need to cultivate the DNA anymore unless you lose your animals, but just try to collect the dinosaur eggs. Like, go out and collect the dinosaur eggs, and that way you won't have to worry about cultivating them anymore. Anyways, that is all of the genetic material that we have for this game. Now I'm going to show you where I get this genetic material, and I showed you before that it's kind of difficult to get because the fossils aren't going to be spawning in nature on this map, so I can't dig for biofossils, but that's okay. I would rather use the biofossils for decorations, much like these big guys right here. I'm going to try to set up a museum somewhere, the official Jurassic Park Museum. But anyways, here we have a machine, and this is the machine that I get my DNA from. Now, if you're wondering what this is, if you can't tell, this is actually an automated chicken farm. It's a design that it's basically something that I designed a few years ago. I've been using this thing for years. Basically, it's a pretty simplistic design. What you use it for is that you pretty much have two sections, and this is only half of the machine. This is the only half that I needed, but basically over here you would have a big box just like this one. It will be 2 wide, and it would be 3 wide and 4 long, and in the center you would have basically just 2 blocks of hollow points. You would have half slabs on the bottom of it, and you would have them being fed into hoppers just like this. You would have those hoppers that would feed into the dispenser, which is powered by this clock right here. Now, the thing about it is the chickens would be bred or spawned in this holding area right here, and when they reach adulthood, they'll start laying eggs. The eggs are collected by the hoppers, deposited in the dispenser, and once the tick on the clock hits the dispenser and powers it, it will shoot the egg into this holding pen. Now, the holding pen is exactly the same, only it's filled with water this time. So, this one is filled with water, and the eggs that are shooting in there, most of them are going to break, but eventually they're going to spawn a baby chicken, and because of the half slab that's on the bottom, there's an atmosphere, there's a bit of air for the baby chicken to breathe, and it's going to survive until it reaches adulthood. And when it reaches adulthood, it's basically going to be forced headfirst into the water, and it's going to drown and suffocate, dropping its delicious chicken meat and its feathers into these hoppers deposited in the chest. And that's basically it, but as you notice, it's only half finished because I'm not using this thing for chickens. I got another bird to fry. I'm using it to collect this. Now, what is this? This is Failure-saurus flesh. Failure-saurus flesh. Now, what is a Failure-saurus? Well, let me show you what a Failure-saurus is. Failure-saurus is basically a consequence of what can sometimes happen if you are a little too reckless with using the cultivator tanks when you're cultivating DNA to try and make your dinosaurs. Now, basically speaking, what happens is, the reason why I say that the cultivator vats are really annoying and they're just tedious to build, you're going to need a lot of resources in order to build them, is because when you use them, they have a chance of failing. They have a chance of being overtaxed and failing, and when they fail, they destroy themselves, and they have a chance of creating something. It depends on what kind of DNA you're using. If you're using a plant fossil DNA, then they have a chance of creating a failure plant. And the failure plant is actually kind of harmless. It's actually pretty cool looking, so I suggest you at least make one, and then use a whole lot of excess bone meal to just make as many as you want. Use them to decorate some area, make your lab look really cool. It looks so alien, and it glows, it changes colors. I would keep them around for decoration, because they're harmless, they don't do anything bad to you, they're just cool looking. But when you're trying to cultivate animal DNA, and the cultivator vat fails on you, you run the chance of creating one of two things. You can accidentally end up creating a creeper, and that's just really pleasant. The fact that you're trying to create a dinosaur and you end up creating a creeper. Don't know what that is supposed to imply, but ultimately speaking, the creeper, I think, is a pretty rare occurrence. The other thing that will happen if the cultivator vat fails is that it will spawn one of these. And this here is our Failure-saurus, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, the Failure-saurus is effectively a dinosaur skull that sits upon an inanimate blob of genetic material, and this is the green variant. There are, I think, at least 3 different variants of these Failure-sauruses in the game. There's a blue one that has a red eye, and there's a brown one, and then there's this green one. And the thing about the Failure-sauruses is that there's supposed to be a consequence of, like, using the cultivator vats too much. It's supposed to be kind of like a science gone awry sort of thing, accidentally creating this abomination that would realistically be saying, "Kill me!" But the thing about it is, they're actually pretty damn useful. And the reason why that is because, well, the Failure-saurus, when you kill them, they end up dropping Failure-saurus flesh. And the thing about Failure-saurus flesh is that Failure-saurus flesh is actually a bit of a wild card. And what that means is, and they also leave a trail of slime behind, and I'll get to why that is useful later on as well. So, basically speaking, when you kill one, they drop a few pieces of Failure-saurus flesh. And Failure-saurus flesh works as like a wild card when it comes to genetic material. So, basically speaking, let me just use it in this chest, see what it can do. Let's see what DNA it can make. It will basically give you any type of DNA in the mod. It can be the vanilla animals to the prehistoric animals. Every single bit of DNA that I got in that security chest was from Failure-saurus flesh. So, let's see. I've got a Smilodon, so that's pretty dang cool. And what's the second one going to be? Ooh, I got coelacanth DNA. So, as you can see, having a whole bunch of Failure-saurus flesh on hand is a great and easy way to get all of the dinosaur DNA, on all the prehistoric animal DNA in the mod, and even some vanilla mod DNA that you don't necessarily need, you can get easily, that you don't want to use. And also, basically, like, they leave behind a trail of slime, which if a Failure-saurus ever escapes and they leave this trail of slime behind, you can actually easily find them. You can just follow the trail of slime to track them down and kill them. Now, the Failure-saurus actually isn't going to get all that far because they're basically just like zombies. Basically, they will burn in the sunlight and they growl like zombies, and they are hostile. They will attack you, but truth be told, I actually kind of like the Failure-saurus. I think that they are genuinely cute. So, I think that after a while, if you've made a few Failure-sauruses and you've killed them for their Failure-saurus flesh, and you've got more than enough DNA that you'll ever need, I suggest that instead of killing the next one that you make, you basically like have a pen prepared. Have a pen made out of glass, fully prepared, and basically when the Failure-saurus is made, you just let the thing chase you. Just let it chase you into the pen and seal it inside. So that way, you have your own little pet Failure-saurus that you can put on display for all of your tourists here at Jurassic Park. Basically, come around from all over the world. Come and look at this horrific scientific abomination that really is a crime against nature. But I honestly think that they're cute, and if you get past the fact that they growl like zombies, I wouldn't mind having one as a pet. Like, I actually might consider making one into an NPC just because it won't attack me. So anyways, you can also set up a kind of water piston system inside that pen of theirs, because they'll crawl all over it, they'll leave a trail of slime behind, and when there's too much slime in there, you could activate the water and then have all the slime trails just destroyed, taken up, and leave slime balls behind, and you can have them deposited into a hopper, and boom, you'll never have to go hunting for slime again. You'll have all the slime balls you'll ever need. So that's kind of cool. That's what makes these animals so useful, even though they're supposed to be a punishment for trying to cultivate too many dinosaurs too quickly, but they are pretty damn useful to you. So I highly suggest taking advantage. Use them to the best of their abilities, and ultimately speaking, there's other things that's just cool about them. They actually have the ability to climb up walls just like spiders. I mentioned that the few that I actually genetically created, some of them actually managed to get away from me, and they went out at night and they went into a bunch of caves near my science lab, and the thing about it is they disappeared and I thought they died until the one day when I was following the slime trail about to start cleaning it up, and I heard them. I looked down into the cave, and they were still alive down there, so they don't despawn, and they started chasing me, so that was fun. Not really fun, but it was fun. So, that's when I got the idea that, you know what, I'm going to build a pen, and I'm going to keep these guys, because they are survivors. They're kind of cool looking. They actually chased me around, and so, but anyways, enough about the Failure-saurus. Let's get to the final part of my little tour of the Jurassic Park genetics lab here. Here is where we have my cultivator vats. I've got 4 of them right now, and as you can see, they are behind reinforced iron doors, and not only that, these are scanner doors. As you can see, that one just opened up without me even doing anything. I didn't click on it, all I did was walk right up to it. So, basically speaking, these are little 2 eye hole scanners here that are supposed to scan my eyeballs and keep the door open so that I can work, but for some reason it's closing. The car's bouncing up and down, but that's okay, it's just an example. So anyway, here's how the cultivator vat works, but basically speaking, it kind of works like a furnace. Here's where you would put the DNA, the genetic material, and here's where you would put the biomaterial. Now, the biomaterial is basically the fuel that this cultivator vat uses, kind of like how a furnace uses coal or lava. And that's what's so convenient, because you can actually use rotten flesh for this, and no, it doesn't create any defects. It doesn't increase the likelihood of making a Failure-saurus or a creeper or a zombie. Your dinosaurs aren't going to be zombies. They're not going to get sick. They're not going to die. They're going to be perfectly healthy, normal dinosaurs. And I just like the fact that you can use rotten flesh for this, because if you get so much rotten flesh that you don't know what to do with, you just end up burning it. And I know you can feed it to your dogs, but let's face it, who's going to have that many dogs? But anyway, what happens is that once you have a piece of DNA in this slot right here, the cultivator vat will take one of the fuel sources. It will take a rotten flesh here, it will burn it, and this little box right here is kind of a jar with a graduated notches on it. It will fill up with genetic material, and that's the genetic material that is going to be used to craft the embryo and the eggshell out of this DNA. So, but here there's one and as like this begins to drain as the fuel begins to burn, this double helix DNA symbol right here, it will basically turn white, kind of like the arrow in a furnace, and when it reaches all the way to the end, that's when you get your dinosaur egg, or your mammal embryo. Yep. But ultimately speaking, there's a bit of a glitch that I seriously don't care for, because it will probably take about 4 pieces of rotten flesh to make one dinosaur egg, and it takes a long time, but it shouldn't take as long as it does, and here's why. Because around the time that you've used your 3rd piece of rotten flesh, this double helix will be around this point right here. And basically speaking, it wouldn't even need to take the entire piece of rotten flesh in order to finish out the rest of it, but it'll take the 4th one anyway and fill this jar up with genetic material, and this is where the problem is. I've noticed that once the double helix is completely filled up with white, and you should have your ready-to-go dinosaur egg, it still won't be ready yet. It won't appear until this little area right here is completely drained of all the genetic material that is being used. For some reason, I have no idea why, it just won't do that, and this is a problem for a few reasons. First and foremost, it takes a little longer. It's literally wasting resources that could be used to get a head start on the next piece of genetic material that you throw in there, the next DNA that you put in there, but also the fact that the longer a cultivation takes, the increased likelihood of getting a catastrophic failure will occur. And now, basically speaking, I might as well take a minute to explain how to craft these things. They're basically crafted from glass panes, so like I said, you're going to need a lot of glass. They're made from a piece of cactus green, and I have no idea why the cactus green is even necessary. Is it because they're green? Did we really need to make this green? I mean, seriously, does it even need to be green? They're made from a bucket of water and 3 pieces of iron. I think you get to keep the bucket, but I'm not sure, but I don't know for sure, I don't remember, so basically speaking, you could have potentially been out 6 pieces of iron just to make one of these damn things. And like I mentioned, they're pretty expensive to make, and not necessarily expensive in the traditional sense, but they're expensive in the idea that I don't want to go looking for a desert to mine sand in order to make glass. I don't want to farm cactuses to make cactus green in order to make these things, and I certainly don't want to go fill up a bucket of water on one of these. Basically speaking, the mod is somewhat fair when these things break, because they do end up giving you the iron that you use to build these things back. But ultimately speaking, the reason why I have these behind these scanner doors that only I can open isn't really because I want to give the air of security, I want to keep people out. No, I actually want to keep the cultivator vats in. And the reason for why that is that when these things break, they end up creating a water source in the position where they have broken, and the water source begins to flow, and like I said, it most likely ends up creating a hostile mob when when it breaks down, so the water will push the mob out into the open, and it will probably come and attack you. And the worst part about it is you have to stop the water from flowing, so you have to wade through the flowing water to finally put down something in its place, or scoop the water source up with a water bucket just to get rid of it. And that's just so annoying and just so tedious, so that's why I've got this set up here. I've got the doors to prevent the water from flowing and from any potential mobs getting out. But I also have them on hoppers, because not only are the hoppers going to take whatever finished material out of there, but also the water is going to continually flow onto the hoppers instead of hitting the surface of the hoppers and flowing outwards. So that's just kind of an extra added security. And I also have the floor just open right there, just in case, like, the hoppers somehow get broken or removed. The water will just keep flowing down to the next level and won't bother me none. So anyways, that's basically all it. This is the chest I'm using to store all the rotten flesh that the Failuresaurus mod analyzations give to me, and so that's it. It got a perpetual mod of genetic material to use to create DNA, and I even got as much DNA as I can. I got 21 pieces of Tyrannosaurus DNA in there, so anyways, that is all I can show you of Jurassic Park right now. If you like this video, please let me know in the comment section if you would like to see more of my Jurassic Park map. If you are interested in seeing me continue this project to see if I could actually get the entire park underway, if you would like to see the visitor center completed, if you would like to see the fences out there in the park completed, if you would like to see some dinosaurs, please let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you want these videos to come out at a much quicker pace, if you want me to dedicate more time to this, please keep in mind that I have a day job and I also have school to attend, so don't really have all that much time to do it, but I might consider starting up a Patreon, and if you would consider supporting me on Patreon to where I could have a little extra money that I could dedicate to starting to do this, dedicate more time to doing this, I would actually be able to make more of the park and get more videos out to you guys. So please let me know in the comment section if you like this video. You can like it. If you like me, well, you can subscribe to me. I'm not going to request that you subscribe to me. I want you to subscribe to me if you actually do like me. So anyways, that's all the time for now. I will see you in the next Jurassic Park Minecraft video.